Step back and see the macro and digest it down to the micro. Trading, investing, and geopolitics. From macro down to the micro. Welcome to Macronomics.
Welcome back to Macronomics. Oh man, guys, I got a doozy for you. Man, it's a visceral feeling that I'm feeling or that I'm aware of, something tangibly. It's like a pull, right? But that's essentially what we're talking about today, guys. Emotions and your trading and what you need to know. So tune in, strap in, and let's blast off. Okay, so first off, guys, simply I had to make this episode. I had to make this episode because it was sitting on me. I was listening to some. I'm gonna have to post it. You know what? I'm gonna link it in the description. The Macro Hive podcast. It's essentially it's a podcast. If you don't listen to it, that goes over. It's just like an interview based type of podcast. Macro Hive. That's what. Yeah, Macro Hive. And so it's just different experts that come in and talk about the macro sphere and how they incorporate and trade it. And so today, her name was here. Let me look it up right here. It was called. What was it? Her name was Dennis Shaw. Dennis Shaw is her name. Wow, man. She essentially broke down the emotional component of trading, and it hit me so much because it was essentially she was just saying, and I'm gonna verbalize this from what I've been able to articulate, but it's more of an emotional feel. So stick with me, okay? You know, it's kind of like that saying with people. We can correlate this point, and that with people don't remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel. And so she delivered all these sound bites that was just amazing. And you see something? No. Oh, you talking to Liam? My son's with me. Me and him are strolling through the woods, getting some fresh air. So, yeah, guys, the visceral feeling from listening to her was definitely palpable. And so I'm just going to give 3 points off of what I've gathered. You know, I've listened to it twice today. I had to slow it down because a lot of my podcasts I listen to on 3-speed, 3x, which is essentially 3 times. And I'm able to just sift through a lot more effectively. And believe it or not, I can actually understand what's being said. And if it's really palpable, it's really, impactful, then I'll have to slow it down to study it. But usually it's a lot of information that's just correlating, not necessarily learning. And so with today, though, of course, it was so deep I had to slow it down. And so I'm listening to it. So first thing, I guess we'll deliver 3 points. The first one is that emotions are an indicator into your trading. They are an indicator. Now, there's some schools of thoughts out there that says do not trade from your emotions, be mechanical. But what she delivered was so palpable, and again, there were so many relative points, relationary points that she brought that I'm not going to try and dive into. I'm going to speak strictly from our experience, trading for the past couple years. And so from that, this past week, a simple example, we took 3 trades. 3 trades, that's it, because the last week we felt that we was trading so much. It was a visceral feeling, and I was like, nah, this ain't cool. And I could specifically go back to when I was journaling, this past week, every Friday I do it. I can go back to that moment and see the correlation in that I wrote out for the week. My thoughts on this past week was I feel good about this. And so that brings us to the second point. She was saying when you can learn to expand your vocabulary and how to express what you're feeling, you'll be able to not be led by it as easily. You'll be able to break down the spaghetti of information noodle by noodle because it's tangled up and it's all correlated. And so when you can break that down, you can identify some of these points and not be led by it. It's not being led by your emotions, it's being aware of it. And so the third point, what was the third point? Until we get there, something else that comes to mind is a book we're actually wrapping up right now. It's called Emotional Agility. And God, that is a great book. That is a great book. Yeah, it is, isn't it? It is. That book, I'm telling you guys, is an amazing book. It's so good. I'm gonna have to go back and study it. Definitely. I mean, for the rest of this is a book you keep on yourself. New Earth. If you haven't read New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, I've probably read it 5 times. I'll probably read it 500 more times because it's that type of book that you reread as you progress on your life path and you experience and you correlate. And so, yes, that's the third point, guys. Emotional agility. This book, I'm actually going to be reviewing completely on my other podcast. It's called State of Prime, keeping you prime mentally, physically, and spiritually. This is actually our first podcast, and this is how it all started. It started with us. It started with State of Prime, our first, media creation outlet, if you will. So yeah, State of Prime, I'm going to be reviewing that, emotional agility. So our third point that we can wrap up on is being aware of your emotions, understanding why they're there and what they're saying, but not being led by them. It's nothing wrong with them, but just understand why they're there. And then building your vocabulary to identify what it is exactly that you're feeling and why it's there. And then as you progress on your journey of trading, now that those emotions aren't leading you, but they are an aspect to your trading because with experience, guys, this is where it's deep. See, it's coming up. I don't know if you feel it or you hear it, but either way, it's coming through this microphone. I was feeling that, guys, that experience of like with competence. You build competence, right? With, like basketball, anything that you do, you build competence in it, right? You learn how to dribble, you learn how to shoot basically, but then there's thousands and much more of these subtleties that become incorporated, and now you learn how to maneuver. Yes, you have the foundational element, but now it's an intuitive. You know when to pass it, you know when to take that shot. I was playing basketball yesterday and I hit this I was playing pickup with my guys that I play with every Friday, and I actually do the trades right after that, ironically. But so I was playing, and I instinctively knew it was a thought, but it was a feeling as well. Took the shot, and we was able to, conclude the game with that series of points. And my point is simply this: emotions are there for a reason, guys. Your intuition. See, some people call it instinct, or you got intuition. I feel like in trading, it's about being aware of all these different aspects. You got you got your process. You got your mechanical setup that you're using to scope in. You scope in on what it is that you like that you're learning. So for me, okay, higher time frame. I'm zoning personally. This is what I'm doing. I'm scoping in on the weekly, right? I'm taking a macro view from the weekly, but this is only one aspect. This is the technical. So I'm scoping in on the 1 week. I see it on the this is through the technical analysis. Is there anything setting up on the charts that's sticking out? Is there any zones that I can scope in on? Right? Boom. Okay, let's say I find it. Right? Then of course I'm going through my technical process. See, that's a two-part process because first I find it, then I identify the risk-reward ratio, and if it's even further down my analysis, if I should take it. So before those 2 points are even reached, though, we got 2 other points, which is the fundamental, the strategy. You got to understand the environment that you're in. This past week, the 3 trades that we took, right? It was USD and the Mexican peso. The second one was the euro and the pound. And the third one was Great Britain pound and USD. I'm sorry, Euro USD and the pound and the dollar. Right? So those 3 trades. And on 2 of those trades, it was a nasty setup because what happened was I got in 2 good trades. I got the risk-reward ratio down. I had the technical down, but I didn't have the strategy down, which was simply understanding the environment as a source of confluence. There was some CPI, which I'm probably sure you heard of, because it was what's the word? Impactful. I guess I'm trying to throw some ish on it. It was impactful, right? So much so that it affected different swaths of the market, and I happened to be in one of those swaths. With the USD and the with the dollar and the peso, it dropped by like 100. No, it was measured in. It was about 1,500 pips. 15. And I was actually biased towards the upside from my technical analysis that I broke down. And so, see, that's the thing, guys. The strategy, as you read a lot of this information, you learn to amalgamate it or not aggregate it. You learn how to put it all together, right? You put all this information on the macro view, so you know, okay, this is coming out, the Fed is saying this, you have interest rates at this, you have the political environment of that, and it's not necessarily writing all this down, but it's rather being aware of, and instinctively / intuitionally, you're able to subconsciously, see my brain, it's coming out. You're able to subconsciously process that information without having to consciously exert energy. And sometimes you got to just slow down. You know, like for me, I knew I had to get on this podcast. I didn't write none of this out, guys. It's kind of a little sloppy. It's a spaghetti ball that I'm, presenting to you guys, or spaghetti, a little, noodles wrapped up. But we're getting there. And our 3 points, I feel like we'll go ahead and conclude with that, guys. 3 points. The first one was, see, this is why you write stuff down, because see, when you speak from emotions, it can be, you can go far. You go far pretty fast, but you got to slow down and organize it so that the ride is less bumpy. But those 3 points, is essentially around emotional affluency, being aware of your emotions, not just to not act, but also seeing how it correlates to your trading plan. Because there is aspects of your trading that are emotional, and that's instinctive, especially as you learn how to recognize patterns and you start to take all these different trades. Over time, after thousands of trades, there's discrepancies and subtleties that correlate and connect them. And you're able to process all that at an unconscious level. So now you can spend your conscious energy more effectively. And so it all starts with being aware of your emotions and how they correlate. Don't run from them. No. Build your emotional agility to move with it and expand with it and grow it and connect with it. Because it's there for a reason, guys. It's there for a reason.